Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters show. It's the 16th of December, 25.
Great to be here.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into the latest numbers and stories you need to know about. We'll be looking at local companies, some key domestic policies, and a few international trends that are shaping up for 2026.
And I think the big takeaway right off the bat is this feeling of genuine optimism heading into next year. Okay, let's unpack that optimism, starting with the FBM KLCI. Analysts are predicting a new post-COVID high. We're seeing targets as high as 1,772 points.
That's right.
So what's really driving that? What's behind the numbers?
It's almost a perfect storm of positive factors, both external and internal.
Okay, so things like the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Exactly. The anticipation of interest rate cuts there usually pushes capital back into emerging markets like ours.
Yeah.
And you couple that with, improving local corporate earnings.
And you get a potential flood of foreign funds.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Especially into our big large cap stocks. And there's a historical angle, too. Sectors like financials and consumer tend to do well in a pre-election period. Right, ahead of a likely 2027 election. Okay, let's dig into a corporate story that really stood out. Malaysia Aviation Group.
Yes.
They're aiming to double revenue to RM 24.6 billion by 2030, and they want to pivot Malaysia Airlines into a premium international carrier. Well, that's ambitious.
It is. But the question is, how do you overcome the foundational challenges? Their own management flagged a mishandled baggage rate of 5.45 per thousand passengers.
Which is way above their target of 3.5.
Way above.
Yeah.
So you have to ask, can you really become a premium carrier if the basic airport experience isn't reliable?
That's the real conflict in the strategy, isn't it? This massive push for growth, 50% more capacity, 40 new Airbus planes, it's commendable.
It is. But that premium aspiration is so vulnerable when the infrastructure like the baggage system or those aerotrains at KLIA keeps failing.
It shows that growth is one thing, but execution is another. And we're seeing similar big moves in physical infrastructure, too, especially in data centers and green energy.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Pasuka's group. They just landed a RM 63.6 million contract for a data center in Johor Bahru.
From a major U.S. tech company.
And that contract is huge for them. It's valued at something like 5.6 times their market cap. It's a massive step in their business expansion.
And this link between local firms and global tech giants just keeps getting stronger. Banastra and SolarVest secured a RM $1.7 million job for large-scale solar projects.
And then separately, Google is buying power from a solar project in Kedah that SolarVest is also part of.
So it reinforces Malaysia's role in this whole renewable energy transition.
It really does. And speaking of assets that hold their value, let's talk gold. Pokong just saw an 85.6% jump in its quarterly profit.
And they expect the bull run to continue into 2026.
It's a classic flight to safety. Central banks are buying, consumers are still spending, and with all the geopolitical uncertainty, well, gold is the oldest hedge there is.
Okay, let's switch gears to domestic policy, the Sabah special grant situation.
A very long-standing issue.
The federal government and Sabah are now working on a new formula for that 40% entitlement, and the interim payment is doubling to RM 600 million.
Right. And the core issue here goes back to the Malaysia Agreement of 1963. The Constitution says 40% of net revenue from Sabah should go back to the state.
So this is about finally settling a decades-old dispute after a court found the old method unlawful.
It is. Though the opposition made a good point, urging Sabah to build an economy that isn't just reliant on grants.
Now, what about digital governance? MCMC has an update.
Yes, from January 1st, 2026, big social media platforms, think WhatsApp, TikTok, Facebook, if they have over 8 million users here, they'll be automatically licensed.
What does that mean in practical terms?
It's all about accountability. The MCMC is basically bringing these tech giants under the same local rules as, say, a traditional telecom company. It strengthens user safety and helps tackle illegal content.
Let's look internationally. The ringgit is forecast to keep performing well into 2026.
Potentially hitting 3.95 to the dollar.
And what's backing that strength?
It's our connection to the global tech supply chain. All that foreign investment pouring into data centers, driven by AI demand. It's a huge factor.
Of course. A strong ringgit puts pressure on our exporters.
It does. It's always a balancing act.
Finally, let's touch on China. President Xi is warning officials against chasing reckless GDP growth.
Yeah, this is a major shift. He's telling them to stop inflating statistics and focus on high-quality, sustainable development instead.
So it changes how officials are judged.
Completely. It moves the goalposts from short-term numbers to long-term economic health. For Malaysia, that could mean less demand for some raw materials, but maybe more opportunities for high-value partnerships.
So after all that, what's the one big thought for our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
I think if you connect all these dots, the theme for 2026 is operational reality. Malaysia is targeting these amazing high-growth sectors, AI, premium travel, but our analysis shows that none of it works without getting the fundamentals right.
From KLIA's infrastructure
To finally resolving long-standing governance issues like the Sabah grant, turning big aspirations into a stable, consistent reality. That's the real challenge.
a perfect summary. Thank you for diving deep with us.
My pleasure.
Make sure you subscribe to the Malaysia Money Matters podcast.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.